IU 26 female. Live in a rented house with single mother, 30 female, and her son, 6 male. I had another person living with me, but they moved out and the mother moved in. I don't mind living with her and her kid. It's fine, and we kind of do our own thing. I spend a lot of time at my boyfriend's place or work, and our work schedules collide, so we really don't interact much, but when we do, it's fine. No issue there. I want to start with saying that she clearly struggles financially, but I don't think it's an excuse. I don't make lots of money either. However, I've noticed that my food would go missing or portions would be taken from it. I assumed it was her kid, so I asked her if she'd stop him from eating my food. I was calm about it, and she just said she would. It didn't really upset me when it first started. It started getting annoying when I'd get home from work and expect to have a meal's worth of leftovers in the fridge, only to see it picked through or just gone. I kept bringing it up, and she started getting annoyed with me bringing it up. Just from observing them, I realized that neither of them ever eat vegetables. And judging by the food that would get picked through and the food that would be untouched. Anything with green in it was avoided. Orange chicken would be gone, but chicken and broccoli would be untouched. So I started putting vegetables in everything. I find vegetables to be delicious. And anything green or not a potato does not get eaten. So I can mix some bell peppers into the food and it would be fine. I make a big portion of vegetables pretty frequently anyway, so I just started putting it in everything I eat. If I had leftover mashed potatoes, I'd pour green beans in and mix it up. If I had leftover cheesy bacon fries, I'd pour broccoli all over it and mix it in. Usually my homemade stuff has vegetables in it, but I started making sure everything did. I made a pot of mac and cheese, the kids' favorite thing, and poured in roasted Brussels sprouts, which is actually delicious to me, and I'm eating more vegetables, so it's a win-win. She had been seeming annoyed, but we were all home when I made the pot of mac and cheese. She was in the living room and saw me get out the Brussels sprouts and was like, "What are you going to do with that?" And I poured them in. She said I was being greedy and annoying. I just said I like Brussels sprouts, and that was it. She said we need food, and I told her to go get some. Or stop buying only pre-packaged things, and your money will go further. I think she sees this as some big act of revenge, but I just simply want to be able to eat my food. Also want to add that the sharing is not the issue. It's expected to have food there, and it's not. So often, I'd be working a long day and get home expecting to have a meal's worth of food, and it'd all be gone. Or I wake up in a rush and have my food ready to eat in the morning only to find it gone. So now I have to skip breakfast. If she would simply text sometimes, "Hey, is it okay if we eat food item?" I would know and know and know to make other plans. I would stop for food or know I have to whip something up when I get home. Also, I think eating the last of someone else's food is crazy and rude. If someone makes a big pot of something and you ask for a serving, sure. But if someone made something and there's one serving left and you eat it without permission, that is evil as hell. I have a 1-year-old son, and we decided to go to the playground one day. On this day, a bunch of kids were there, among whom was a bratty 4-year-or-so girl who had a mean streak to her. My son, who didn't know better, went close to her and she just told him, "What are you doing here? You're not invited here." I agree, I kind of didn't like my son being bullied, but I figured he doesn't understand these things yet, and I didn't want to be one of those sensitive helicopter parents who shield their kids from everything. So I just took my son and we played elsewhere. Later on, I see that her grandma was there, and it seemed like she's not one of those loosey-goosey grandmas, so while the girl was close to her grandma and it dawned on me, I could bait her to be mean to my kid in front of Granny. So I placed my son close to her since I figured out he wouldn't understand anyways. And it worked. She said, "You're not welcome here. Go away." And her grandma heard and she got in trouble. And the grandma said they now will go home since she can't be nice. She fought it, but couldn't do anything. Part of it, I think Granny just wanted to go home. Well, edit to add, I'm sorry for the lack of clear communication on my part, but for those who say my one-yo needs to learn boundaries, yes, I do agree, and I do try to teach him. For example, he'll want to just grab other kids' toys like toy cars or balls when other kids fling them around, but I never let him touch it and communicate with him why it's important to not touch other people's things without their consent. For the girls, asserting her boundaries part, as much as I am for boundaries, she was gathered in the middle of the top of the playground structure where kids access the slides and fiddle with marbles on the walls. So I don't really think she or her group should be asserting their boundaries or personal space when they're in a shared space in a supposed throughway for other kids. And she was also doing it to other kids, not just mine. Hope this helps. This weekend, a friend of mine asked me to keep an eye on her 2 kids while she and her hubby went away for the weekend for some time. Her mother was initially going to watch the kids, but fell through on short notice. She called me at 3 p.m. on Friday to come over in 3 hours, and my friend knew I probably wasn't doing anything, which was both harmful and accurate. I said, sure. She's got 2 kids, a girl who is 8 and a boy who is 5. They're good kids for the most part. The boy has a little bit of a snitching problem and the girl has a sharing problem, but it's 2 days. So I show up Friday after work while my friend gives me the rundown and her husband tells the kids he will beat them with their sibling if they're bad. The kids were unimpressed. The parents leave and it's just me and the kids in the house and it's immediate pandemonium. The brother snitches on his sister for taking an extra cookie. The sister cries to me that her brother touched her switch, and I make the executive decision that they've got too much energy, and if they're tuckered out, they'll hopefully chill. So I asked the kids to track down bathing suits because we're going to my gym, which has a pool and a guest policy. I did let Mom know what we were up to before we left and asked if it was okay if I brought my dog over. He doesn't shed and is house trained. She said that was fine. Operation Pool was a great success, though the locker room got a bit dicey. That's a whole other story. Once everyone was appropriately tired, including me, we made a pit stop on the way back to their house to grab my pooch. He's extremely well behaved and loves kids, and both kids were immediately all about the Dexter, and the Dexter was all about the kids. Ground rules, no pulling on his fur, and he goes where he wants. Kids kind of struggle with the notion that a dog is not a toy. I obviously kept him out of places where he wasn't supposed to go, but I'm a grown-up. Allegedly, miraculously, after the swim and chasing the dog around the house left the kids too pooped to pop, and both fell asleep watching a Disney film on the TV. After the movie, I woke the kids up to trot off to bed and didn't make them brush their teeth. For the record, the son did indeed yeet me under a bus when Mommy called in the morning. I told the kiddos that if they left their doors open, Dexter might sneak in and give them cuddles. I increased the likelihood of this by sleeping on the couch and not leaving him a spot. He expressed his displeasure with me by flouncing off and going into the boys' room to sleep. Great success. Saturday, we went for a hike in the morning, had a nap, and then played ball with the dog and generally had a pretty chill day. Defused the sharing issue by explaining to the girl that the pup has feelings and wants, just like any person, and she can't control him that way. She appeared thoughtful, and then immediately started yelling at her brother for hogging the dog again. At least she wasn't mad at the dog. I successfully heated up the casserole Mom had left me for dinner, following her carefully laid out instructions, admonished the kids to not giving people food, and was soundly ignored. I did draw the line at a couple morsels from each kid, put my foot down. More than that, and he's going to get the runes, and nobody wants that. That night, I made sure Sis got a turn by again, hogging the couch and also closing the boy's door, since it got a turn already. The girl was smug. The boy made me call his mom. Mom wasn't happy that my dog was in her kids' beds. I reminded her that he doesn't shed and can't smell worse than the kids, and her daughter might burn the house down with us inside if she doesn't get a turn. Mom accepted defeat. Saturday night was again relatively peaceful, though toothbrushing did happen. Early Sunday morning, I got woken up by having my dog step on my testicles, which is a thing he's really good at, and he was mad at me for not leaving any room. I made room. Apparently, the girl tried to do something he didn't like, and he noped out of there. She wasn't happy about that, but was appeased by my pain enough to go back to bed. This morning was relatively chill. Some more playing with the dog and some team tug of war, and Mom and Dad got back around lunchtime and thanked me for keeping their kids in one piece. The kids said bye to the pup, and there were tears, and I loaded up myself and my dog and went back home to enjoy the relative peace and quiet. Yeah, I wish it ended there. Maybe an hour after we got home, I got a phone call from a very frazzled-sounding mom with kids crying in the background. She says they need my dog now. I'm sorry, what? You don't need a dog. You need my dog? Like, I don't need to come back and visit soon. You just want him? Well, the kids got so attached and they won't stop crying about missing the dog, and her husband don't have time for 2 kids and a puppy and more guilt-inducing word vomit that was having precisely 0 effect on me. Fluffin'-lutely not. Click. Still getting texts about being reasonable and you have time to train a new dog. 48 hours of free babysitting isn't enough. You want my dog too? Not in this lifetime. Update clarification. The parents offered to pay me for my time over the weekend, but the rate for 2 full days of childcare was kind of a lot, and they don't have a lot of disposable income. It was an emergency, and I had nothing better to do with my time. Told them not to sweat it. My pup is chipped and is still sleeping off his big weekend, but he's going nowhere solo, and I do have cameras up. I also texted my friend's husband asking him what happened and why his wife wanted my dog this morning. He replied back with a lot of, genuinely hoping sanity breaks out and we can move past this, but ain't nobody is pup napping my dog. Sad update. I can't really say much without identifying the people involved, but there was a lot more going on behind the scenes than I was made aware of. My friend is currently undergoing treatment for things I can't really describe without risking doxing her, and she's got enough on her plate as things stand. She really did blow a fuse, though, and is now aware that what she was asking wasn't rational and has apologized.